What's up, ladies and gents? Welcome back to another edition of Resurrection Reviews. This is 50 calorie cold brew, high brew coffee, double espresso. My affinity for stuff like this is why I'm considering changing my YouTube name to Red Eye Reviews or something like that. You know, there's a drink called Red Eye, which is where you drop a shot of just regular old black espresso into regular old black coffee. To be perfectly honest, it's kind of nasty, but this is delicious. Got a nice kind of milky taste. There's definitely milk in here, but it's espresso. And, you know, I like espresso okay, but I think it's better if you have espresso mixed with a little bit of milk. I don't know what exactly that's called, but I do know I really, really enjoy high brew double espresso coffee. Really, really delicious stuff. This is direct trade, which I'm guessing is pretty much the same thing as fair trade or something like that, but really delicious stuff. One more sip here. Well, I'm continuing on with what I am going to now call the Summer of Slash. I've done that in the past, called it Summer of Slash when I'm reviewing slasher movies in the summer. But now, I'm going to review a movie that came up when I finally completed my list, and I just randomized the whole thing. I can't remember what number it was, but I remember the number that came up was for a movie called Killing Spree from 1985. This movie stars a guy, not lying. His name is Asbestos Felt. I don't know if that's a real name. Don't know if that's this guy's actual name, but it's a weird, crazy, awesome name that really kind of eases you into the movie. Well, I say eases in. This movie, there's no easing in. This movie is about a guy who's absolutely paranoid. He's a divorcee. He's just married a new wife. They're about 6 months into their marriage, and he's a paranoid person. Absolutely paranoid. Thinks his wife is sleeping around. Worries that his wife's sleeping around. And finds this little black book that has stories about a woman cheating on her husband behind his back, of course. And this sets him off on a killing spree. He goes off, kills all the people that appear in this black book, some of which don't really make sense because some people are like an electrician. Unless it's an individual guy who only does the electrician's duties by himself, doesn't have any employees, that's got to be tough. Same thing with this lawn mowing service. Maybe that's a little bit more believable. There's a guy that's like for a delivery company. You don't just get the same guy. It's really tough to do unless it's just... He's got to be a UPS guy because I mentioned UPS. Anyway, but some of this stuff is absolutely unbelievable. But he goes off on this wild killing spree. And to start off with, the special effects in this movie, obviously as low budget as it gets. The first thing I noticed about the movie, in fact, was that it had to be bargain basement low budget because this is one of the sub-genres of slasher and horror movies that really started in the 1980s, and that is the shot-on-video horror films. I'm not saying these are found footage. It's certainly not found footage, but it's also definitely shot with a home video camera. This is a little bit under 90 minutes. It's like 85 minutes or something like that. So that's another add-on there. But that's one of the first things that I noticed about this movie. It had to be low budget. And the special effects really kind of follow after that. Some of them are actually fairly good. Some are like. Some they use techniques that I've seen in higher budgeted movies. Movies like Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 and Friday the 13th and stuff like that. I've seen some similar stuff there. But there's also some really, really bad, like, mannequin head decapitated heads there, and just a lot of crazy stuff. Despite the fact that there's a lot of like perceived infidelity in this movie, there is no nudity whatsoever. There's near nudity, and there's a lot of sex scenes, but there's no nudity whatsoever. That's kind of a plus on my scale, as I've talked about before. Doesn't make the movie feel any less sleazy, though. One thing that I do think this movie does really well is that it makes you feel like uncomfortable throughout the whole thing. Partially, I think it's the way that the movie's shot, very amateurish with the video camera. Maybe it's the fact that like all the actors in this movie are pretty bad, to be perfectly honest. Really entertaining in some aspects, but also in some aspects really, really bad. Maybe it's that combined with like this crazy script that's all over the place, this weird music that isn't really good, but somehow makes you feel uncomfortable. If that's the goal of the movie, they definitely got it for me. Like, I totally felt uncomfortable. But like I said, the acting's pretty bad in here, the writing's pretty bad. There is an interesting twist near the end that I somewhat saw coming, others might not. A second twist that's just totally out of left field. I won't spoil to you, but let's just say that. Let's just say that death is not the end. Let's just say that much. But as for the movie as a whole, I mean, I've been kind of jumping around here because I didn't write down this review, but the movie as a whole, really, really weird movie. I don't know if I recommend it or not. It is, if you want to watch it, it's free on Amazon Prime. If you've got Amazon Prime, you can definitely watch this movie. Like I said, the music's pretty bad, but kind of discomforting. Really bad cinematography, and there's actually some good lighting in here, strangely enough, but there's also one scene where totally they just turn on the lights, and you can see you can see the lights turn on, and the back of your mind, or at least my mind, just kind of fills in a guy standing over there, and he's like behind the camera, and he goes, click, lights turn on, turns red or turns blue or whatever. Yeah, really amateurish stuff on here. I was reading a review of this movie that called it a Florida violence movie or a Florida gore movie. I didn't know that was a genre, and while we're talking about genre, by the way, in some ways it doesn't fit into my rigid ideas of a slasher movie. Like, it's kind of a serial killer movie, but the outlandish gore and the outlandish death scenes in this movie just kind of make it seem more like a slasher, and the low production values also put it in that sort of bargain basement Z-level slasher fodder area. There are a lot of movies that I have to say I recommend more than this if you're looking for these like Z-level slasher movies, but despite the fact that I can't really find much good to say about it, I also can't find a lot that I really want to say negative about it. I don't know if I necessarily liked the movie, and it's going to be tough for me to rank it or rate it in any sense, but I do think that it was a worthwhile watch. It introduced me to the director of the movie. I can't remember his name, but he's apparently a pretty big force in Florida gore cinema, so I might check out more of his stuff. But anyway, it's a weird movie, definitely off the wall. If you haven't seen it, like I said, I don't know if I recommend it, but maybe check it out if you've got the chance and got the time to burn. I kind of did this morning, so. But yeah, that's Killing Spree. It's a weird movie starring a guy named Asbestos Felt. Yeah, Asbestos Felt. Asbestos Felt. Yeah, weird name. I think the best thing about this movie is definitely how unsettling it is in some aspects. Very low budget. You can definitely tell these people put as much as they could into this movie, but it is really wild and over the top, sometimes hilarious, sometimes absolutely dull. But in some ways, I gotta say, it's a worthwhile watch. So, that's Killing Spree. Thank you for watching the video, guys. The movie that just came up when I randomized the list again after watching this movie was my number 2 favorite slasher movie, Scream. So now I get to sit down later on, either today or tomorrow, and watch one of my all-time favorites. It definitely makes up for Killing Spree. So Scream should be the next review. If I decide that I want to put Scream off, I might just randomize the list again, but right now I'm really thinking about watching Scream. Thank you guys for watching. Rock on. If you like, subscribe. I'll talk to you later. One last sip of this delicious cold brew, high brew coffee. Double espresso flavor. A little bit left in the can. I'm going to save that till after. Rock on, guys. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching.